Hi everybody, welcome. Today I am working on a few different things, so let's get started. So right now I have 4 Natashas ready to go on their background clay. I have black and white conditioned and rolled out. I have to figure out what cutters I want to use for these two, and I have these two figured out. I'm going to lower my camera a little bit and see. I'm sorry about this. That's the one thing I forgot to do. Let's lower my camera. It just seems to work out a little bit better for you guys. Excuse me. If I have my camera closer to my work area. So try not to get dizzy while I'm doing this. I think that's a little better. So, okay, I'm going to push these two to the side for now, and I'll get back to those. This one, I'm just checking to make sure I have it centered. I'm not sure if I did or not, but whatever it is, it will be okay. And at this point, when I'm working on things that I'm getting ready to put into the oven, I usually keep them on little pieces of parchment paper that I have cut out. That way I'm able to turn it and get to all sides a lot easier. And it looks like I should have thinned this side out a little bit because it's thicker than the other side, and it's okay to leave it like that, and a lot of times I do, but it does make it harder to resin. I'm taking a flexible blade, and I'm just going to try to very carefully take a few thin slices off the back on this one side, trying not to distort it, which I should have done this before I used the cookie cutter on it. I didn't even remember that I was supposed to do that, but it will be okay. Like I said, polymer clay is very forgiving. There's a rare occasion that I've had where I make a mistake doing something. It's very rare that I am not able to somehow fix it, or at least make it okay enough to continue on. I did distort that a little, but oh well. And this side is thicker than this side. The thing is, I'm not going to be using the cutter is going to cut a lot of that off. So I think I'm okay. I'm using a little heart on this one. It's very hard for me to get these exactly even sometimes. I just have to do my best. This barely fits on the clay, but barely is good enough. It looks like it did, I did cut off the part that was thicker on the one side than the other side. I kind of like this one because of the checkerboard in the center. Okay, now I'll move those to the side and pull these out. I was very happy. I cut into this block of clay right before I started recording. And I wasn't sure if I was going to end up with anything I could use, but I did end up with this. I think this is really cool. And I'm not sure which way I'm going to use it. Now this is really purple. I don't think it's showing up on the camera near as purple as it is. I really like that. I would like to be able to use that and as part of the design. I'm going to very carefully try to make this a little bit longer than it is. This is always dangerous to do because it's very easy to not have even pressure, and therefore it will start to distort very quickly. You have to be really careful if you take a roller to it. And I just distorted a little bit, but I think I will be cutting that part off. Now I have to decide what cutter I'm going to use, and I have a whole tray of cutters. That's not here. Let me try to show you. Yeah, and these are just the bigger cutters. I have my little plexiglass drawers that I pull out sometimes. That have I have 3 drawers like this. I have a lot of cutters, a whole lot of cutters. So now I have to decide which one I want to use. I'm thinking maybe go with, let me see. I wonder how a hexagon would work. That's cutting off too much of this bottom part that I'd like to keep, so that's not going to work. Maybe a big oval. Let me find one, or maybe a big circle. Maybe, let's see. This is an interesting shape. Let me see. Let me see. I'm going to try to have a dog here. I'm going to hold this up. I don't think I'm going to be able to keep that purple that I really like very much, but well, this is interesting. I think I might use this. Now, the thing is, I'm trying to decide what I want to be the top and what I want. I think I want that to be the bottom. And I'll keep this as the top. And this just fits on there about perfect. I'm just trying to center it as usual. I think that's about as good as I can get it. And guess what, folks? I have it upside down. Oh my goodness, I haven't done that in a long time. I have the sharp end facing away from the clay, and the dull end I started to push down into the clay. That is not smart. That means a lot of the clay got pushed. I don't know. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, I feel so stupid when I do stuff like that. I haven't done that in so long. So long. Oh, goodness. Now, I usually keep the excess. I keep all of these in different piles because I might want to come back and either make some beads or some earring components. So I will have beads or components to match my pendant. Next, this is the last one. Of course, this one came off the same block as this one. It was just a different part of the block. And I think this one's pretty too. Pretty cool. And let's see. Trying to decide which cutter to use once again. Oh dear. Maybe a circle. That's not big enough. I think I will use a circle for this one. Oh, excuse my dog. Richard just left to pick up his van from the shop. We were on our way to Walmart the other day, and when we got to the end of our neighborhood, at the stoplight, it just died and wouldn't start. So we called AAA, and they were on their way, and he tried it one last time, and of course it started, which was good. We didn't have to sit out in the heat and wait for AAA, but he did go ahead and take it to the shop, and I think they said they couldn't find anything wrong with it, but they told him he needed front brakes and rotors, so he had them do that. I'm still trying to center this and talk at the same time. That's why it's taken me so long. But yeah, so it was in the shop overnight, and it's finally finished. Thank goodness, because I've been out of cigarettes for many hours, and he's gonna pick me up a pack on the way back. Okay, let's see. Let me put these cutters away. This piece is very, very thin. Very thin. That turned out pretty. It reminds me of mountains and I don't know, like a stream. These Natashas always, I always think of the ink blot test that psychiatrists use. I don't know if they still use them because they only remind me. I know their ink blot tests are in black and white, and these are very colorful, but they remind me of the ink blot blots because everybody sees something different. You know what I mean? Usually, I mean, there's a ton of different things depending on how you turn it of what you can see in these things. Okay, now from here, let's see. I'm gonna have to push some of these to the side so I have more room. I think I will start with this one, and I'm going to use white clay to back this, I believe. Let me see. Oh, it looks good on the black too. Decisions. Let me see. Oh, these really look good on the black clay because maybe I'll put them both on black. I usually don't have this much trouble deciding. Oh, brother. I wanted to use white. I just recently started backing some of these with white. In the past, I started out using only black, and then every once in a while I would use a color like a blue, and then I tried. I had something that I just couldn't figure out, you know, what color backing to use, and so I tried white and I liked how it turned out. So now I will use any color, mostly still black though, but white also. Okay, now I do like to decorate the back of my pendants. Here's one that I have clay all up under my nails. I used some kind of stamp, but here's a rubber stamp, and it's of musical notes. I really like this. And so I haven't used it in a very long time. So I'm going to use it today. Now, the trick is you always want to have a release on these rubber stamps because believe me, you do not want to be left picking clay off of a rubber stamp. It is very hard and takes a very long time. Now see, my clay's a little dirty, so I will put that. That's where the pendant will go. This side will be the back. So what I do is I take another piece of parchment paper, trying to find a fairly new one. It doesn't have bits of clay stuck to it. I need to cut some new parchment paper. This one will work. Now I could just push down on it, but I'm going to use a roller, and I'm not going to push very hard because then I will make the clay too thin, and I want my backing to be on the thick side. I have it rolled out. Oh, and that moved. I have it rolled. Oh, I might have to do this over because it did move a little. I'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Let me turn it over and see what's happening. Yeah, I didn't get a good impression. So all I have to do now, I have a little black clay on there. I'm just going to run it through the pasta machine and start over. That's an easy fix. Oh, shoot. Oh, no, you guys. I forgot to, oh my gosh, I just rolled something out very, very thin on the thinnest setting, and I forgot to reset my machine back to the thickest setting. Oh my goodness. And I started to roll that piece through on the thinnest setting, and boy, my clay is really dirty. I'm going to run it through a few times. I'm trying to see what y'all are seeing. Yeah, this is my pasta machine. It's just on the corner of my desk. You can see I have a ton of stuff going on in the background. More stuff. I just have stuff everywhere. Okay. I think that's okay now. The clay is a little dirty, but back to work. Okay. I think there's still enough water on there, but I'm going to be sure. A lot of people don't use water. They use cornstarch. But cornstarch to me is just messy. Maybe I'll turn this upside down and push on it like a rubber stamp is made to do. This is working better. It's not moving, at least. I want to get a good impression. So I'm using my roller. The thing is, if you don't end up with a good impression, all you have to do, and I didn't. Oh my gosh, look at that, you guys. That's why I don't do it that way. Okay. The third try is a charm, right? And this is so vague that it's not even going to matter if I don't roll it through the pasta machine. Okay, let me try this for the third time. I'm going to try to hold it with one hand while I'm rolling it with the other. I don't remember having this much trouble in the past. I don't remember how I did it exactly, though. Well, that came out pretty good. You can't see the individual notes as good as you can on the rubber stamp, and I don't even know if people will be able to tell what this is. But a musician might if they look close, right? I'm going to use it. Okay. Now I'm going to put this one on there. So I have the next size up cutter, and trying to decide which part of it I'm going to use. I'm going to turn the clay over. Now, a lot of time I will stamp the front side also. I'm not going to on this one because the clay is not clean enough for one, and for two, what is for two? Oh, I'm going to put a little piping around, all the way around, so you won't be able to see the, just trying to get my bearings, what part of the cutter where I'm going to place the cutter. And I want it down here as much as possible. So I also want it straight. Let's see. I think this will be okay. If not, it will have to be okay. Yeah, that's fine. It turned out pretty good, actually. I'm impressed. Yay! So let me center this on here. And since, oh, I was going to put this on black clay, huh? Oh, well. And since both pieces are raw, I don't need to use an adhesive. The only time you really need to use an adhesive is if you have one part that has been cured in the oven and one part that hasn't. Okay, next I will make a piping for that, but before I do that, I'm going to finish these 3 pieces and come back. Now, I'm not finished yet, but I just wanted to show you how beautiful, how beautiful these prints came out. And I didn't use a rubber stamp. I used something that goes to one of those Cricut machines. I'm not sure exactly what this is or how it's used or what for, because I don't have one of the machines, but this stamps both sides at the same time. They're really cool. So I'm going to finish these 3. Okay, so I'm a little ahead. I have these 3 I have put on the baking tray. I did put the piping around these 2, excuse me, but I did leave this one to show you how I do it. This is called an extruder, if you don't know what it is. And I spin this and it extrudes. It depends on which, it comes with a whole bunch of different, discs. So when you twist the clay out, you can get different shapes. And there's all different kinds. Let me show you an extruder. Oh goodness, this one's really on here. You unscrew the end of it and you change out the, I used this one for the black clay. This is where you change out the disc. You put the new disc in there after you clean this, unless you're using black clay again, which I used to only have one extruder, and I would have to clean it every time I changed colors of clay, and it just got to be too much. And plus, extruding black clay and white clay out of the same extruder, inevitably I would end up with a speck of black on my white clay, and it would ruin it. So that's why I try to keep one just for the white clay, and then my second extruder for all the other colors. So I have this one ready to go. I'm just going to twist the end, and I'm going to get a snake. Oh, I hope I put enough clay in there. You know what? I might not have. I forgot I was using the disc with the large hole. I don't think this is going to be enough. I can stretch it a little bit. That's what I'll do. I've done it. I've had to do it before. I would have almost enough, and so I would just stretch it a little bit and everything would be okay. It gets a little thinner here on the end. I'm going to cut that off. Oops. And then proceed around. I'm kind of pulling it and pushing it as I go. I'm pushing it down and pulling it a little bit, real gently, so I can kind of stretch it at the same time. And I better stretch it a little bit more because I'm just a little bit short. I could have used a thinner snake, but the edges on this cutout, you know, the clay was pretty thick, and I dropped my tool that I was using, so I'll just have to grab another one. This is a small knitting needle, and I use it. I need to cut that little piece off the end so it will so I can butt them up against each other. I don't want the overlap, of course. I always have trouble doing this because I don't want to cut through the bottom piece of clay. Oopsie. Okay, let's see if I can. And I will just, oops, I dug in that a little too much. My knitting tool that fell is a little bit fatter than this one. I should look for it and pick it up, but I might have to, I rarely have to sand anything after I bake my items, but every once in a while I will have to sand. It looks like there's a tiny bit of blue that got on this clay. That will sand off. Some people sand every time. They sand everything they do. And I don't get it. I haven't found the need to sand every time. I mean, if you take enough care before you bake it and cure it, then most of the time things come out very smooth. Now some people sand it because they want to turn a buffer on it instead of using resin or a liquid clay varnish. So if they are going to buff it, they start out by sanding it, and they use a higher and higher grid down to like 4,000 or 6,000 grid sandpaper on a Dremel, and then they get their buffing wheel and put it on the end of the Dremel and buff it out. And some of the things end up a little shiny, but most of the time it's hard to tell the difference between something that has been buffed and something that hasn't. I have a real hard time seeing a noticeable difference. Okay, so I'm just going to take this off and go around the edges and make sure I just kind of roll my knitting needle, and I'm pulling down a little bit. I want to make sure that it is on the backing piece, the bottom piece. And everything is looking pretty good. Now, you can, instead of leaving this is actually a bezel. I was forgetting the name. I said piping. It's not piping. That's in sewing. This snake is acting as a bezel. Now, some people decorate the bezel, like they'll take this knitting tool and go around and push down into it, and so they end up, with a little decoration. I'm going to leave this one alone and leave it plain. Yeah, I'm going to have to sand this just a little bit when I take it out of the oven. Okay, so this one's ready to go. I will put it with the rest, and I will figure out what I'm going to do with the little bit of clay that I had left after using the cookie cutters. You know, I had a little bit around the edges that I put to the side, and I said I was going to figure out if I was going to make beads, so I would have matching beads. Um, and so I'm going to figure that out and then pop this all into the oven to cure. I'm going to bake it according to um, the Sculpey directions. And my oven runs hot. I think you're supposed to bake it at 270 for, let me just grab a package and read what it says so I don't say it wrong. I'm using Sculpey Primo, most of it anyway. And where are the oven directions? 275 degrees Fahrenheit, 30 minutes per quarter inch, which means for every quarter inch of thickness, you bake it for 30 minutes. Most polymer clay workers bake it longer than that, and I have just kind of figured out what's good for me. If I'm baking things that aren't going to take a second bake, like say I forgot to put the bezel on at the end, and I went ahead and baked these, or say I wanted to put the bezel on after, for some reason, I would bake the pieces at 275 for like 20 minutes, and then I would take them out, let them cool, and put the bezel on with some special adhesive that they make, and I would pop it back into the oven and bake it 30 more minutes. But I'm going to leave what I have in the oven for 1 hour, and I will show you what comes out. Oh. Excuse me. Okay, so these are out of the oven, and I did a tiny bit of sanding that I needed to do, and I'm going to throw some resin on here just so you can see how it's done. I have a little resin, UV. This is UV resin. This is a UV light, and what I do is I put a coat of resin on, and while it's sitting here, I will seal it with this little flashlight before I move it over to my, I have a big UV light. Oh, I'm trying to turn the camera so you can see it. Here's my big UV light. Anyway, that's the best I could do. I will put the pieces under that for, oh, it takes about 10 minutes. Unless you're, sometimes I resin a lot of pieces and put them on the cookie sheet and take it out into the sun, and it only takes about 5 minutes or less for the resin to cure. In the natural sunlight, it takes longer under a UV lamp. So I'm just going to pour some on here. What I do is I go around the perimeter, kind of close to the edge, And then I drop some in the middle. Now this resin is self-leveling, so, but that doesn't mean that sometimes like holes won't be left. Excuse me, my throat is so scratchy. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling the resin out to the edge of the colored part. I am not doing the bezel yet. And I have to be careful because if I tip this too much, it has been known to start dripping off the edges and it can become a real mess. But as you see, you can pull it out to the edge and it will stop unless I have too much. And like I said, it can overflow and start dripping and become a real mess. I'm just going to continue around, pull it out to the edge, and almost finished. Now I'm going to pick it up so I can tilt it a little bit and look at it in the light, and that way I can usually see all the holes or dips that I need to kind of fill in. And to do that, you just kind of push the resin around, and like I said, it will self-level. It's really pretty easy to work with as long as you don't put too much on there. I get in trouble when I have too much. It's kind of hard to do at night. I do better when there's sunlight coming in my window. I think I got all the dips. I'll really be able to tell once I throw that light on it. I'm making sure I've gone to the edges. I went a little bit over right there. Thank goodness for the bezel I put around it, because that really helps to keep the resin from dripping down the sides. Now sometimes you will see air bubbles. I 99% of the time don't see air bubbles enough, but a lot of people will take a lighter and just, my fan's going so I can't do my lighter, they'll run a lighter over the top without touching the resin, and that takes the air bubbles away. So what I'm going to do now is just, I start by going around the edges with this UV light, and it looks really good. It looks like I pulled it right out to the edge all the way around, and I don't see any dips. Now sometimes the resin, it will shrink as it cures. Different resins, you know, some are better than others, and this is actually made, well, the bottle, this is I bought it in the fingernail section at Walmart. It's nail UV resin. But I used all that, and I refilled this little bottle with some resin that I got at Michael's. And there's so many different brands out there. I do not have a particular brand that I like better than the other, or else I would tell you. I get mine from Hobby Lobby, from Michael's, from Joann's. Okay, so this is set, and so I can move it over to my light, and I will move on to the next one. I'm going to do the same thing. It looks like I'm running out of resin. I mean, I have a lot more. This bottle's just about tapped out. So I believe I have enough to go on this though. Now see, that started to go towards the edge. My desk is not the most level place, so I caught it from going over the edge. I just pulled it back to the middle with my brush. Okay, this resin is really, UV resin I think is very easy to work with. I have worked plenty with the kind of resin that it's 2 parts that you have to mix and then let it cure on its own. It's resin, and you put a hardener, the hardener comes with it, and you mix it together, and then you pour it over your project, and I think you let it sit for like 24 hours, and it cures on its own. Doesn't take any light. Now, since I did not have a whole lot of resin left, I can see a few dips in the middle here. So I'm just trying to spread this around and go over the dips. And like I said a few times, I think this will self-level. It's really hard to tell at night. I could turn on my big light, but it gets so hot in here so fast. Okay, now if I missed any spots, after this cures, I can put another coat on it. It looks pretty good though. Okay, I'm going to put this under the lamp and let this cure, and I'll show you what I do next. I will drill the holes, and I'll be back after this cures. Okay, you guys, I am still curing the rest of these. I did go ahead and finish this one. It's a little sticky on the sides, but I didn't realize this recording is almost just about at an hour. I do not want to make these videos more than an hour because I know that they're hard to watch when they're that long. So what I do from here is I have hand drills, and I start by drilling with the small bit, and then I drill through that hole with the larger bit, and that way I can put either a jump ring or a bail. I did the back too. Now sometimes I can't see the decoration I put on the back of this after the baking, and I put on a real thick coat of resin. Uh, the stamp I had on the back kind of disappeared. That's okay. It still looks nice. So there it is, resined, sides, back, and front. And I will make a necklace out of this at some point. And like I said, the others are still over here curing. I put resin on the bezel of this one. The other two I haven't messed with much. The hardest part is getting the sides to cure. I usually have to go back. If I have them outside in the sunshine, that helps because everything seems to get cured at once. But when I'm inside, I will have to take my trusty little flashlight and go around the edges with it to let it finish curing, and then that will be ready. That will be finished. I ran across a bracelet that I designed and made. I stamped, it's copper, of course, you can see that. And I just stamped little designs on the back, and for the closure, I just have a jump ring and I twisted some copper wire, and I have a little crystal, oops, sorry, crystal, couple crystals hanging from it. And I thought I had lost this, and today in my cookie cutter drawer, when I pulled out the cookie cutters to show you how many I had, underneath the box and in between the box and the bottom of the drawer, I ran across my little bracelet. So this will be a project soon that I'll show you how I did it. And I also made a 4-sided Natasha bead while I was waiting. I need to burnish that line out. I won't get that line all the way out, but I can fix it better than that. But anyway, yeah, that's a 4-sided bead. And other than that, I'm going to say bye and thank you so much. Oops, you can't even see my face. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.